Okay, thank you. Now we move on to our table topic session. For our guests, have you heard of table topics before? If you haven't, you're in for a surprise. Our table topics master will share his, will take the floor and share his ideas on table topics. Um, our evaluator for the table topic session is Toastmaster Pam. So Toastmaster Pam, I hope you're ready. Let's welcome our topics master, Toastmaster Russell.
Thank you very much for that very enthusiastic introduction, Toastmaster of the Day, Ed. Now, may I ask permission from our president to share my screen? Does everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, perfect. Now, table topics is one of the most interesting portion of Toastmasters, and I can attest to that. Why? Now, if you ask me why, because I could relate table topics, be asking questing be like a quest. In this case, like any quests, you have battles, right? And in table topics, your battles will be in the form of impromptu questions. Now, these impromptu questions will be thrown at you, and just like any quest, you have no idea on what to expect, but you still have to push through to accomplish the quest or to answer the question. Now, similar to regular quests, there are certain conditions. And the condition for table topics is that you have to finish it within 1 to 2 minutes. Meaning, if you are able to deliver your speech within 1 minute, our timer will be flashing a green signal to indicate that you have already met the minimum requirement of a 1 minute speech. If you are able to go through 1 minute and 30 seconds, the timer will flash a yellow or orange light. And that signifies that you are already halfway through the maximum time allotted. Now, if you reach 2 minutes, the timer will flash a red light. And that simply means you have 30 minutes, or rather 30 seconds, to wrap up your speech so that you could accomplish your table topics speech. Now, take note that if your speech ends up being below a minute or above 2 minutes and 30 seconds, then technically you are game over. But of course, this isn't a contest, just like in other table topics contests where you get disqualified. This shall only serve as a learning opportunity for us. Now, you might be wondering, what do I have to do when I get thrown to this quest or this table topics questions? Of course, you have your weapons and abilities, which are in the form of the table topics patterns. You have one example as the SMG or story message game. By following this pattern, you would answer table topics question by first narrating a short story, telling the audience what the message of the story is, and concluding by saying what is your game or what have you learned from that particular story. Another weapon or pattern for table topics would be the prep or point, reason, example, point. You provide one particular idea, you reason out, provide your arguments or explanations, you give examples, cite anecdotes, and then you reiterate your point again as part of your conclusion. And lastly, another common pattern that we may use is the PPF, or the past, present, future. In this case, you talk about something in the past, you try to contrast it with the present, and then you try to make predictions or perhaps assumptions of what could happen about this particular thing in the future. So let's say that your topic is all about resilience. You decide to use the point, reason, example, point. You say that resilience is something important for the youth because it helps them build their character and to go through obstacles. For example, in a group of grade school students, if you tell them that they should be resilient or try to teach them resilience, they'd end up being able to accomplish their assignments in time. Therefore, because of this resilience, they are able to fulfill their goal. Now, it's up to you on what particular format or pattern you would be using or what weapon or ability will you be carrying towards this particular quest. Now, after knowing about table topics, it's time for us to dive into this quest. Therefore, for this particular session, I would be needing 3 volunteers. So may I first get the 3 volunteers? And yes, these volunteers will be participating in something after this next slide. So I need the 3 names. Since I am a very lenient game master, I shall first ask you to volunteer unless we do or we practice what we usually have here in BF community, where we call it being voluntold, where I assign you and you have no choice but to participate. So any volunteers? No volunteers, of course. No brave souls who would venture into this quest.
There is
None?
someone, I think Jimo is raising his hand. Are you raising your hand, Jimo?
Jimo? Is Jimo?
Yeah, Jimo, our guest, is raising his hand.
All right. Hi, Jimo. Thank you very much for being our first participant. Now I need 2 more. I need to know first who are the 3 because they would be venturing in this particular quest at the same time. Of course, they'll have their individual time, but for the starting point, they'll be together. So 2 more. So we have 1, our guest Jimo. Toastmaster Ed is pointing at someone. So who could that be?
I think Erica is raising her hand. Is she? No? No, you're not? Okay. I thought. Sorry.
How about we get someone who we know would be able to inspire the other people? How about TM Ching? TM Ching, are you
I
here
agree.
with us?
Yes. Please, TM Ching.
Would you join TM Jimo in this quest?
With pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I love the dedication. And 1 more. We need 1 more.
One who does not have a role today. Anyone?
Yes, preferably one who doesn't have a role so that we could maximize your
I
participation.
see one who doesn't have a role. BTM left.
Okay, so another veteran. I think that would be the ideal setup because in that case, we have 2 veterans who could guide our guest in this quest. I mean,
Did he
that's
say
how
yes though? Did he say yes though?
So, DTM Les, would you be willing to join TM Ching and our guest Jimo in this quest?
Yeah, okay.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes? All right, perfect. Okay, so thank you to our 3 brave souls. Now, just like in any quest, choose a path. We have the kingdom. Now, guest Jimo, since you are the first one who volunteered, you get the luck of choosing which path to take. So the castle, the forest.
Hello?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jimo. Yes.
What are the choices? Sorry.
The castle and the abandoned town.
I'll pick the castle.
The castle. Okay. So TM
Yes.
Ching, you are next. Which one do you pick? The forest or the abandoned town?
I'll take the forest.
The forest. And that leaves DTM less with the abandoned town. Okay. So given the sequence, the Do we have our
I can't hear you.
timer ready?
Timer is Margaret.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we have our timer. So guest Jimo, kindly look at or take note of our timer TM Margaret's screen so that you would be seeing the signal. Now,
Okay, no.
you see an old rude king who doesn't show care for anything. Now, to answer how can we help others to be more concerned about social issues? Guest Jimo, how can we help others to be more concerned about social issues? Our guest and future TM, Jimo.
Okay. Hello. Yes. Okay, so regarding the question, what I would say is to be a leader, to help everyone, to help someone with the social issues. I think it has to be with the leader. One, the leader has to motivate, to inspire, and to encourage his people, his or her people, regarding any social issues. Now, it's a matter of helping, of lifting up your fellow mates, your fellow mates in a battle. Just like a king, it has to show a true leadership leadership by helping his or his men, his assistants, his co-workers, his fellow mates in battling some issues. That will be all. Back to you.
Thank you very much for that very brave and very insightful speech, guest and future TM Jimo. And because of that particular speech of yours, you have beat the quest, and the old king has been free from the curse and now vows to serve the kingdom well. To our second quest, which shall be entered by none other than TM Ching. Now, TM Ching, as you enter the forest, you encounter the spirit who is longing for its peace. Now, to help this spirit forest, the way show the importance of self-care. In what way can we show the importance of self-care, Toastmaster Ching?
As I enter the forest, I am acting as a queen, and I encounter the spirit of the forest longing for its peace. And the spirit asks me, in what way can we show the importance of self-care? Number one, I think there should be a change in mindset. Number two, I think there should be forward looking. And number three, I think we should also respect the past. The spirit of the forest has been there since long time ago. And now it's longing for its peace, which means that it has accepted that somebody in this quest is already capable of bringing in that peace. And that somebody has to have the peace himself. Now, self-care is something that we should all embrace. We cannot give something that we do not have. We cannot give peace if we ourselves do not have peace. Therefore, in the absence of that, the spirit of the forest will not be able to have its peace. Self-care is something that we should exude. Even in the absence of words, these can be felt by emotions and the way we vibrate to others in the spirit, in the forest. in order for it to attain peace. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much for sharing those words of encouragement and for helping us understand the importance of self-care. And because of your speech, the spirit finally finds peace and has left the forest alone. Not the least, we have DTM Les for his quest in the abandoned. DTM Les, as you enter the abandoned town with a riddle. Now, the riddle is your mindset. Again, DTM Les, your mindset changes. DTM Les Aquino.
All right. Going to an abandoned town. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we hear you, sir.
Going to an abandoned town with a reader. If you approach that reader, you need to have an open mind to understand, even understand that riddle. Now, when that riddle tells you of negativity, you have to keep in mind where that negativity comes from. Is it the truth? Is it coming from fake news that is so abundant nowadays? So, when you approach that riddle, think more openly. Try to think for yourself and not get swayed by what others would immediately say that would mean trying to convince you or sway you in some motives or some vested interests. Take the situation for what it is. Look the positives, the negatives, and anything that's in between. It is only then that you for yourself can you think what the reality is. There are many of looking at the truth. In fact, some people would look at it in a way that would benefit themselves. So you need to have keep an open mind, a mindset that will allow you to look at the situation purely without being swayed what others would have to say. Again, there are so many fake news nowadays, and each of these fake news would give their own, well, they hide behind an interest or a motivation for spreading that kind of fake news. So when you look at the riddle, think think of the ways wherein which you don't get swayed and you look for the facts that will help you make a good decision. That's the way to approach the riddle and to think of ways to solve that riddle in that abandoned town. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much and well said, DTM Les, especially with how we must be self-aware about what we are thinking so that we could come up with better decisions and approach. Now, because of your speech, DTM Les, the town has been restored to its natural state and the sun has risen above it. Now, after speaking or hearing your speeches, our three brave adventurers, it is time, of course, to take a rest and for you to be recognized, which is why let us give our three speakers a virtual round of applause for delivering those speeches. Now, after hearing those and accomplishing your quest, you could see how table topics can really be interesting because it not just helps you to think on your feet, but it helps you to inspire others and to, of course, provide the change that we need. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Topics Master. Wow, we heard a lot of and good answers to those challenging questions. Why not? Let's give our topics master and our speakers a big round of applause again. Good job. So, fellow Toastmasters and guests, as you know, table topics is actually impromptu speaking, right? We learn impromptu speaking here in Toastmasters, and I'll let you in for I'll let you in a secret. Many of the beauty contestants who became champions have excelled here in this portion of the meeting, table topics. Okay, now while there is impromptu speaking, we also have prepared speeches. Okay, so in prepare, prepared speech speakers rehearse their speeches and deliver them in Toastmasters meetings. Okay, so while impromptu speaking is around 2 minutes, prepared speeches take a longer period of time.